Hi, and welcome to Stress Busters. I'm Keisha Moore, and I'm so happy to have you here with us today. So all this month, we are focusing on the science of happiness. And every week on Mondays at 12 noon, we're talking about what you can do to help make your life happier. So if you know people who could use a little more happiness in their lives, and trust me, who couldn't, please do join us and invite them to join us on a weekly basis. I'm recording from various places around the country. So this week we're in Florida at Hollywood Studios. I tried to find a quiet spot, but bear with me, this was the quietest spot that I could find. But I am so happy that you've decided to join us. Now, our code word for today is heart. Heart. So in a little while, I'll tell you what you can do to win a prize with that code word. But right now, let's get to introductions. So as I've said before, I am Dr. Keisha Moore of Life and Focus Coaching, and I'd love to know who you are. So as you join in with us today, please do type your name below the video so that I can see you and welcome you personally. I'm so excited to have you here, and I love doing these weekly conversations. So all of this month, we've been talking about what science can teach us about how we can live happier lives. And this week, we're going to focus on what science teaches us about the value of kindness and how kindness can help us live a much happier life. So let's get started. So what we learned from scientific research is that kindness makes us happy, and happy makes us kind. So there is a reciprocal relationship between kindness and happiness. And when I say kindness, I'm talking about all different kinds of kindness behavior. So that includes things such as altruism, it includes volunteering, it includes providing emotional and social support to others, and it includes donating our time and our money to charities or important issues for us. So all of those things have been studied in terms of how they contribute to our happiness, and all of them contribute to our happiness. But one of the interesting things to keep in mind when you're thinking about the relationship between kindness and happiness is that the research shows us that this relationship only exists when kindness is what's referred to as an intrinsic motivation. That means that it's something that you're doing because you want to do it, not because someone has made you do it or you're doing it in order to get some other gains outside of the act itself. So what we see is when we're looking at activities such as volunteering, and there's studies that ask young people, why are you volunteering? And so for the students who talk about, oh, I'm volunteering so I can get into a good college, or because this is a requirement for my high school, those students, we don't see a link between their volunteer activities and their level of happiness. But for the students who say, I'm volunteering because I want to, because I feel a moral responsibility to volunteer, those students, there's a great link between their volunteer activities and their happiness. So kindness does make us happier, but only if it truly comes from our hearts. And that's because practicing acts of kindness changes the way that we see ourselves. We start to see ourselves as pillars of generosity, that we're always giving. And we also see ourselves through practicing acts of kindness as interconnected to all of the people around us. And so as we cultivate this mindset, it changes how we feel about ourselves. We feel more connected to the people around us, and we just are happier and more satisfied with our lives. So let me share with you some of the research around how we know that practicing acts of kindness makes us happy. So in one study, this study was done in Britain, and they divided people into 3 groups. And the first group of people, they asked them for 10 days to just practice acts of kindness, just random acts of kindness. The second group of people, they asked for the same 10 days, we'd like for you to practice doing something new. Doesn't matter what it is, just something new that you've never done before. And for the third group of people, they didn't give them any particular instructions. So you could just go through and do your day the way you would normally do your day. So after 10 days, what we see is both the group of people that practice acts of kindness and the group of people that practice doing something new, both of them experienced a happiness boost. So they were happier at the end of those 10 days than the control group. And that's one of the ways in which we can see that people who practice acts of kindness, even for short periods of time, have higher rates of life satisfaction. Another study that was done by the Harvard Business School asked people to recall the last time that they spent money either on themselves or on someone else. So they asked people to think about, one group of people, they asked them to think about when's the last time you spent $20 or $100 on someone else. And they wanted you to recall it as vividly as you possibly could. And then the second group of people, they asked them to think about the last time they spent $20 to $100 on themselves and to recall those memories as vividly as they could. So what do you think is the difference? Exactly. What we learned is that the group of people who recalled spending money on someone else, after they spent time thinking about those memories and recalling them, their measures of happiness were much higher than the group of people who spent time thinking about spending the money on themselves. And the interesting thing is, it didn't really matter how much money was spent. So there was no difference between spending $20 on someone else and spending $100 on someone else. Just the fact that you did this kind gesture and took your money and spent it on someone else was automatically a boost in your happiness. And then it went on, because after that they actually asked people, they gave them money and they said, okay, so now this money belongs to you. You can spend it however you want to spend it. And so there's no pressure. We're going to make it totally anonymous. So no one else will know how you spent your money, because they didn't want people to feel pressured to donate their money or give it to someone. So at the end of that, they found that the people who were in the recall of spending money on someone else and who experienced great happiness from that, those people were much more likely to take this new money and spend it on someone else as well. So they donated this money to charity or they gave it as a gift. And that's what we call like this happiness cycle, that actually participating in an act of happiness, of doing something kind for someone else, makes you feel happier. And because you feel happier, you're more likely to be kind to someone else and to do another act of happiness. And so this is what we think of as this feedback loop between happiness and kindness. Now, what we can see when we're observing this relationship between happiness and kindness is that there are actual pleasure centers in our brains that light up when we are experiencing something that brings us joy or pleasure. And so they had one study where they hooked people up to brain scan machines so they could see the brain activity, and gave people the opportunity to donate to their favorite charity. And interesting enough, when the people were donating to their favorite charity, those same parts of their brains, the pleasure centers of the brain, were actually lighting up. And so there is a real reward, a tangible reward that we receive from practicing acts of kindness. And because it feels so good, we want to do more and more of it. And so another study in which we were looking at the effects of kindness and happiness was actually with older adults. And what we know is that as people age, particularly into the seniors they're more likely to become depressed. They have greater health complications, and we have up until now been thinking about that as natural. This is just part of the aging process. But there's a lot of really exciting research that suggests to us this is not natural. This is more a matter of kind of the way that we organize our lives and how we kind of set older people apart and give them less and less responsibility and less esteem, and that compromises their happiness, their well-being, and also their health. And so in one study, they took seniors and they asked a group of seniors to volunteer for 3 months, and the other group didn't volunteer for 3 months. And so they measured their happiness and life satisfaction at the end of the study. And lo and behold, at the end of the study, the seniors who engaged in this volunteer activity were actually much happier. And interestingly enough, this actually lasted for more than 3 months after the conclusion of the study. And so we can see that happiness actually, that practicing acts of kindness leads to our immediate boost in our happiness. But it also has long-term effects that follow us much, much later after the act of kindness is over. And the other thing that we've learned from studying the relationship between happiness and kindness is that kindness is contagious. That's right. Seeing an act of kindness actually makes us feel good. And because we feel good, we're more likely to do our own acts of kindness. So this is what we refer to as moral elevation. And when we see an act of another human being doing something very kind and generous to other humans, we're inspired, we feel good. There's studies that suggest that the parts of our brain that get lit up are the same parts of the brain that get lit up when a mother looks at a newborn baby. Just that feeling of love and protection and appreciation, and we release oxytocin. And so, yeah, we just feel so much better when we see this act, even if we're not the person committing the act, nor are we the person who's receiving it. We've just seen it. But because we've seen it, we experience moral elevation, and then we want to be kind to others. So in this one study where they tried to test out this effect, they divided people into 3 groups. So there was one group of people who they showed them a beautiful nature documentary, another group of people who they showed them a funny TV clip, and then a third group of people who they showed them an inspirational clip from Oprah. Sorry about that. And the inspirational clip from Oprah, it was someone doing something really kind and generous to help other people. You know how Oprah does it. It's very inspiring. So anyway, they showed these people these 3 clips in these 3 different groups. At the end, they asked to measure their life satisfaction and happiness. And then after they took their happiness scale, they asked people if they would be willing to help them out on some task. So they had a random task that they were doing. They said, okay, well, would you be willing to help us? So what we see from this study is, first, the people who watched the inspirational clip of Oprah reported feeling more happy. So they were more inspired. They had this moral elevation. And because they had this moral elevation, they were also much more likely to volunteer for this task at the completion of the study. And so this is how scientists got to confirm this belief that watching acts of kindness actually inspires other people to do acts of kindness. So kindness is the kind of thing that is a gift that keeps on giving. Like practicing acts of kindness, it helps you, it helps the people who you are helping, and it helps the people around you who just see you doing it. So on all kinds of levels, we want to encourage people to practice kindness, because kindness improves our own happiness and improves the happiness and health of those around you. So I'd like to ask you to consider, how do you practice kindness in your everyday life? And are there opportunities for you to mix it up and perhaps expand your acts of kindness, or draw more attention to your acts of kindness. So I know for me, I do a lot of volunteering, and sometimes I forget that I forget why I'm doing it. And so I might complain like, oh, I have to go to this meeting and read all these reports. And then I catch myself thinking like, wait, what am I doing this for? This is an opportunity to actually enhance other people's lives. And so once I come with that frame of mind, I actually feel better. The parts of my brain get activated, and I experience my happiness again. So again, volunteering is an important form of practicing acts of kindness, but only if it's intrinsically motivated and if we're clear on what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it. So I'd like to leave you with a happiness challenge. The first thing I want to encourage you to do is to do 5 acts of kindness and squish it all into one day, just so you can get a big happiness boost, so you can feel it for yourself and understand the difference that acts of kindness makes for you. I'm sure once you really get it, you'll practice it on a much more regular basis. But 5 acts of kindness in one day. And if you really want to maximize the benefit, I would suggest that you make those 5 acts of kindness different things. Because remember, doing something new also increases your happiness. So this way you get 2 for 1. So 5 acts of kindness, different acts of kindness than you would normally do. And write it down. Write down what you did and how you felt as a way of kind of capturing that moment and savoring that moment. So if you keep a journal, that's something that you might want to put down in your journal. The second thing that I'd like to offer you to help you in boosting your happiness is the happiness half dozen that I've created. So it's a worksheet that actually gives you 6 activities that you can do that are scientifically proven to increase your happiness. Now, all 6 of these activities are things that only take a few minutes. You can do them every day, just like you take your multivitamin. And just like a multivitamin, it's the kind of thing that strengthens your immune system, that increases your happiness, that gives you a boost of energy and helps you make it through your day and your week and your life better. So I'd love to share this happiness daily half dozen with you. In order to get this, what I need for you to do is for you to inbox me with the code word that I shared at the beginning of our session. So you inbox me with the code word, I'll send you the happiness daily half dozen, and you can start on every day kind of giving yourself a happiness boost. Don't worry if you miss the code word, you can get it on the replay. And I promised I said it right in the beginning, and then you can listen to it and inbox me and I'll send you that as well. So it has been a pleasure spending this time with you. I'm ready to go back and continue with my vacation with my family, but I wanted to take time out just to connect with you because I really do enjoy our time together. I love sharing with you what I've learned about how we can increase our happiness and live lives that are filled with meaning and joy and purpose. I look forward to seeing you again next Monday at 12 noon. I won't be live because I'll be on an airplane, but I will do a rebroadcast of one of our earlier sessions in this happiness series. So if you missed the earlier session, please do check back in and you can get more information about how we can live happier lives. And then the following Monday, so on Labor Day, please do join me Monday, 12 noon, and I'm going to share our concluding series of the series on happiness. And so you don't want to miss that. So again, I am Dr. Keisha Moore of Life and Focus Coaching. I have so thoroughly enjoyed spending this time with you, and I wish you a day in a life that is filled with meaning, purpose, and joy. Have a great day.